the heart of ancient Italy, long before empires and kings, a legend was born. A story of fate, survival, and destiny that would shape the world forever. Twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, entered the world under a curse of betrayal, abandoned at birth, their fragile lives hanging by a thread. Left to die by the waters of the Tiber River, the helpless infants drifted in silence, their tiny cries lost in the wilderness. But destiny had other plans, for the gods would not let their story end so soon. The river carried them to safety where salvation awaited. On the riverbank, a she-wolf appeared, wild and fierce, yet filled with a strange compassion for the abandoned children. She nursed them with her milk, warmed them with her body, and guarded them fiercely with her teeth, as though the gods themselves had sent her. The wilderness became their first home, a place of danger and survival, yet it was here that their strength and resilience were born. As time passed, shepherds discovered the boys. Astonished at their survival, they took them in and raised them as their own sons. Strong, fearless, and untamed, the brothers grew under human care, yet the spirit of the wolf still lived inside their hearts. Their bond was unshakable, forged in hardship and survival, and together they carried the destiny of a city yet to be born. Yet ambition soon stirred within their hearts. The brothers no longer wished to remain shepherds. They dreamed of building a city of their own. But destiny is never without conflict. The brothers clashed bitterly over where their new city should rise, each certain the gods favored his vision. The quarrel grew fierce, pride turning to rage. Words became threats, and threats became violence as brother lifted hand against brother. In a tragic twist of fate, Romulus struck down Remus, staining the earth with his brother's blood, the first blood spilled in Rome's story. Grief and triumph battled within Romulus's heart. He had lost his brother, yet he had gained the right to shape a kingdom of his own. Alone now, he claimed kingship and laid the foundations of a city destined for greatness. He would call it by his own name, Rome. A kingdom born not of peace, but of sacrifice and ambition. This was Rome's true beginning. Its roots were soaked in both triumph and tragedy. The first walls rose proudly on the Palatine Hill. What began as huts and fences would one day become the eternal city itself. Farmers, shepherds, and outcasts gathered within those walls, seeking refuge. Rome became a haven for the bold and the desperate alike. Strength and courage became Rome's earliest laws. Its people were hardened by survival, united by struggle, and driven by ambition. The she-wolf that once saved the twins became a sacred symbol of Rome, worshipped as a sign of strength and divine protection. Its image reminded the Romans that survival came through resilience, and that even the wild had chosen to protect their destiny. Romulus ruled as Rome's first king, shaping laws, guiding the people, and turning scattered wanderers into a united nation. Brick by brick, hut by hut, his city grew from nothing into destiny, each stone laid with ambition, each wall with hope. Bloodshed marked Rome's foundation, but so did greatness. The people saw sacrifice not as tragedy, but as the price of immortality. Romans believed the gods had chosen them. This faith gave them courage to endure, to fight, and to believe their city was eternal. Stories of their origin spread quickly, binding the people together. Rome was not just a city, it was an idea born of myth. Every Roman child grew up with this tale, carrying its spirit into manhood, into battle, and into the service of their city. For the soldiers of Rome, the legend gave unshakable courage. It reminded them that their ancestors had endured, so must they. Thus began Rome's march through history. Its destiny was never to bow, but to conquer, guided by myth, memory, and ambition. Rome's earliest days were fragile. Survival was uncertain, yet every struggle made its people harder, sharper, and more determined. Neighbors mocked their little city, but Romulus reminded his people, greatness is not in birth, but in vision and will. To strengthen his city, Romulus welcomed outcasts, exiles, and wanderers. Those rejected by others became Romans. This mix of people gave Rome a new spirit, bold, restless, unafraid to fight for a place in history. But with growth came danger. Rival tribes saw Rome rising and feared what it might one day become. Romulus knew survival meant strength. He turned farmers into soldiers, teaching them that Rome's defense was their sacred duty. Each battle tested them, each victory proved them. Rome was no longer just surviving, it was learning to conquer. Each battle tested them, each victory proved them. Rome was no longer just surviving, it was learning to conquer. From blood and struggle, a new truth emerged. Rome was not like other cities. Rome was eternal, or it would die trying. And so, with the wolf as their guardian and Romulus as their king, the Romans took their first steps into immortality. But peace did not last long. Rome's strength drew envy, and nearby tribes prepared to strike before the city grew too powerful. When the attack came, Romulus himself led the defense, showing his people that a king must fight beside his men. The clash was brutal, but Rome stood firm. Its wooden walls held, and its warriors proved fiercer than anyone expected. For the first time, outsiders realized Rome was not a fragile settlement. It was a force rising from the earth itself. Each victory bound the Romans closer. They were no longer just survivors, they were brothers forged in war. And in every struggle, they remembered the wolf, the mother who had saved their founders, the spirit that now guarded them all. Rome grew not just in numbers but in pride. As people began to believe they were chosen for something greater. To outsiders, they were a strange people, harsh, disciplined, unwilling to bend. But to themselves, they were destiny in motion. Even in hardship, their belief never wavered. Rome was more than a city. Rome was the promise of eternity. And though the empire was still only a dream, its heartbeat was already strong, echoing through the streets of early Rome. As years passed, the story of Romulus and Remus spread, told by firesides, carried on the lips of every Roman child. The legend was not just history, it was a reminder that greatness demanded sacrifice, even the sacrifice of blood. Rome's people believed the gods themselves had marked their destiny, placing them on a path no mortal could escape. This faith gave them courage, for if the gods had chosen them, then every hardship was simply another test to endure. And so Rome did not grow quietly. It grew with fire in its heart and iron in its hands. Every battle, every law, every stone placed in its walls was part of a mission larger than themselves. Even when hunger struck or enemies pressed at the gates, they endured because Rome was not allowed to fall. Other tribes rose and vanished, but Rome's roots dug deeper, nourished by struggle, ambition, and belief. The Romans told themselves, "We are not like others. We are chosen, we are eternal, we are Rome." And in their hearts, they carried the memory of a wolf, a river, and two brothers, their sacred beginning. From this myth came their courage. From tragedy came their unity. From survival came their destiny. Rome was more than a city of men. It was an idea that demanded loyalty, blood, and eternity. And so, the eternal city began its march through history, step by step, battle by battle, never looking back. This was only the beginning. Rome's story had just begun, and the world would never be the same again.